Trey and I were joking before we got started here. I said I work for IBM, so I'm always over-prepared and overdressed, and he said he was always under-prepared and overdressed. So we'll get from one extreme to the other. Instead of on the back of a napkin, you get an actual speech. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mitch Mayne, and I am an openly gay, active Mormon. Like many of you, I felt firsthand the pain around Proposition 8. And also, like many of you, I felt it from within my very own spiritual family. To watch my Mormon brothers and sisters advocate for a law that would keep me from marrying the man that I love tore at my heart. It was a difficult time to maintain my personal integrity and to also stay close to the home where I found my Savior. Yet I remain, and continue to remain, steadfast in my commitment to my faith, and most certainly to my Savior. In August of 2009, I was approached by the Oakland and Berkeley State Presidency to take part in a series of presentations for each of 10 different boards. These were held in a 5th Sunday Joint Melchizedek Priesthood Relief Society meeting, and each were led by a member of the state presidency. The purpose of these was to begin to heal the rifts caused by Proposition 8, and I believe more importantly, to expand the understanding of traditional Mormons to the struggles and challenges faced by gay and lesbian members. By being willing to sponsor this event, what the state presidency did, in effect, was remove the barrier that culturally we have established that makes this an off-limit topic, one that we don't address in public or at all. This event began to erode the stigma and secrecy around the issue of homosexuality, and while it did not call for a change in church doctrine, it did call for a change in the hearts of those who attended. Like dropping a stone into a still pond, our 2009 event had ripple effects throughout the state. In 2010, a fireside was hosted by the Berkeley Board in conjunction with the Coalition of Welcoming Congregations, focused on why marriage matters. This event featured same-gender couples of different faiths and different ethnicities, speaking about the importance, the spiritual importance of being able to marry the one that they love. In September of 2010, there was an invitation-only meeting featuring Elder Marlon K. Jensen of the Quorum of the 70, who spoke at our state conference during that same visit. This meeting was dedicated to those whose lives and whose faith had been affected by the church's involvement in Proposition 8. A panel discussion, which you will hear more about just this last month at UC Davis Law School, featuring Kate Kendall of NCLR and our own Craig Stewart of the Oakland and Berkeley states. The focus of this meeting was to unite, to find common ground between the gay and Mormon communities. In addition to these larger measures, we've been able to accomplish some more intimate yet equally impactful activities. Proposition Healing, headed by Carolyn Pearson, which includes cottage suppers, where an openly gay person or persons of some Mormon affiliation has dinner with a traditional Mormon couple, thereby breaking down the preconceived notions on both sides. And for me personally, in late January of this year, I had the opportunity to bring 2 currently disenfranchised gay Mormons to church with me. David, a friend of mine from Seattle, and Liz, a friend from San Francisco. What is uniquely important about that is the meeting that we had with Bishop Adam Christensen of the Oakland First Ward afterward. The way Bishop Christensen handled the questions and the topic with such honesty and openness, and what Dave and Liz had learned from me was going on in the Oakland stake, inspired and encouraged both of them to reactivate within the church as openly gay members. Liz and David are 2 faces of real humans that are being impacted and transformed because of the seeds we planted at that first event in 2009. There are countless others. A letter I received from a 14-year-old boy in Utah who read my words and for the first time shared his own homosexual feelings with me. And now he doesn't feel so isolated, hopeless, and alone. Sarah, a Mormon woman, who reconciled with her gay brother after a 30-year rift in their relationship over his homosexuality, after being part of those meetings and hearing the words that were spoken that day. Harry, a multi-generational Mormon and second counselor in the bishopric, who pulled me aside a few months back simply to tell me how happy he was that I was part of his Mormon family, not for who he thought I was, but for who I really am. The point is this: from these first formative steps, we have touched the lives of more people than we ever imagined. Hearts have been softened. Families have begun to heal and reunite. And the illusion that gay members are alone and don't belong in the Mormon family has begun to erode. I have been blessed to witness the testimonies of others strengthen and grow as a result of what's taken place in the Oakland and Berkeley stakes. And while my testimony of my Savior and my place within my Father's kingdom has always been unshakable, there have been times when my testimony of the rightness of my church has been tested. I want to turn my attention quickly now to how these events have affected me personally. In my stake, I am not viewed as a victim. I am not viewed as afflicted or suffering, or someone who contends with an illness that requires my soul be mended. I am not viewed as the other. I am viewed by both my stake and ward leadership and my fellow Mormons as an equal, someone with perhaps a different path to walk than their own, but with an understanding that my path, just like theirs, was fashioned uniquely for me by our Father, and a path that is respected as such. A common thread that seems to run through the psyche of many gay Mormons is a profound sense of aloneness, the fear or reality of being ostracized by our brothers and sisters in the gospel for being openly gay, and the anxiety of being criticized and condemned by the larger gay community for our devotion to a church that admittedly has caused much strife in the lives and families of gay individuals, irrespective of faith. There is quite literally nowhere to turn. I have had moments where the sacrament has been passed to me and I have taken it with fear in my heart. Not the fear that I am doing something wrong in the eyes of my Savior, but the fear that if I were known for who I really am, a gay Mormon, that the opportunity to take the sacrament would be removed from me. That I, based solely on the fact that I am gay, would be stripped of the privilege to take the emblems that allow me to honor my Savior each and every week. I am no longer burdened by this mantle or illusion of being on the outside looking in. I am no longer burdened by feeling like the other in my home ward. The dissipation of the illusion of this aloneness, of being the other, needs to happen in the hearts and minds of every single gay Mormon in every ward throughout the world. And the only way we can do it is if there is continued enlightenment in our membership at every level of service. I want to talk quickly here about the important role of our straight allies in helping us accomplish this important work. First, I think it's important to point out that without our straight allies, none of the things that I mentioned today or that you will hear about could have ever occurred. Straight allies who are willing to stand up for what they believe are absolutely mandatory for change to occur. If change is to occur, and it must, it has to have people pushing from the inside as well as those pulling from the outside. As a straight ally, you have the unique opportunity to be truly Christ-like. If we think about our Savior's mortal ministry, it was a ministry largely centered on people society cast out, that society viewed as the other. Think about the story of the woman who, when Christ was on an urgent rescue mission for one of the daughters of the Jewish synagogues, reached out to touch his robe in an act of faith that by doing this, she would be healed. This woman was also the other. She wanted to be near the Savior, to look into his face and to feel his love. But this she could not do, because according to Jewish law, she was unclean, for 12 years she suffered a vaginal flow of blood and almost constant hemorrhage. But worse was the suffering she had to endure at the hands of her brothers and sisters in the community because of the plague of mental and emotional shame and scorn that was heaped upon her. She, like our gay Mormons, was judged unfit to mingle in the community, unfit to worship in the temple. Yet, like so many times in his mortal ministry, Christ stopped and healed the woman of this terrible burden. But the most important aspect of his kindness was the healing of her lonely and aching spirit. What a treasure it would be to know for the rest of her life that Christ knew her, that he noticed her, that Christ accepted her. What a profound demonstration of our Savior's love, his mercy, and his kindness. And what a tremendous example of reaching out to the other, regardless of consequence. Being born gay is not a plague, but what many of us suffer at the hands of our brothers and sisters is. What an amazing invitation for you as our straight allies to help each and every gay Mormon draw closer to our Savior. What an exciting call to arms, for there can be no more worthwhile pursuit than becoming like our Savior. I encourage you to be our straight ally. Ask your bishop or local leaders what can be done in your area to foster a more Christ-like attitude. Share what you've learned today. We have before us a golden opportunity, the opportunity to demonstrate to every member of the Mormon faith, regardless of sexual orientation, that they are exactly where they are supposed to be and that they are exactly who they are supposed to be. There are no others among the flanks of Latter-day Saints. There are only Mormons, diverse, extraordinary, and unique. And that is exactly how our Father in